What is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video here on Marvel Strike Force. In today's video, I want to talk to you all about power creep. I want to talk about the stat roller coaster that's been going on and how and where this game is headed with this. It seems that, basically since I don't know what we want to call this, the stat reset of 2024 or whatever this is, but all of the new characters from basically Ares and the Annihilators onwards obviously have these insane stats. But what does it mean for characters prior to this point? And what does this also mean for each and every team that comes out after this? Because it seems that, I mean, you can see it right here yourself, right? With the power level, and I mentioned this in a previous video, with the power level of Lady Deathstrike, and, Scientist Supreme's not quite there yet anyways, but the numbers are getting huge and insane, patch after patch after patch, and to the point where Scientist Supreme's damage stat is higher than the Annihilator's characters. And yes, I know that she doesn't really have a damage skill, but the fact that these numbers are so insane, it just seems that we're climbing and climbing, and I don't know where it ends. So I want to talk about this, my thoughts, and how much this matters and all of that. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. Oops. And just for comparative sakes, anyways, when I was talking about that, I just want to compare this, I suppose, with just I know that, like, realistically for Scientist Supreme, the only thing that matters is like health. I think her focus is good enough. I think on her, and she gets bonus focus on her ultimate, anyways. But as far as like the stats go, I just want to compare it to someone that's roughly equivalent. So 6.4 million health for mine, anyways, right now. 360,000 damage. Okay, now she has a healer ISO though. So try to keep that in mind. I forgot already. 6.4 million and 360k. And what's Apocalypse? Like, yes, I know that Apocalypse has a much greater kit, but the fact that he's got like G19 and 3 diamonds, and they have the same health. And this is included, I believe he has a health passive, if I'm not mistaken, as well, I think, right? 70% max health, right? And so Scientist Supreme does not. So if you were to subtract this, like, oh boy, I mean, yeah, I get it. But still, these stat buffs, these are included, I believe, when you're in this window here. It's just absolute insane, right? Like how they've just, it's not even I think I said roller coaster. That's not really it's just such a steep climb that, like, every new character now, and I know that it's not all about the stats, right? Like, yeah, Lady Deathstrike has some insane stats. Her numbers are just bonkers insane. But at the end of the day, she didn't really get a crazy rework to her kit. But does it matter? Like, if it's a reasonable enough kit, does the stats then overcome what complexity of a kit could do to a character? And I guess that's kind of the question here, right? Like, how much does it matter? I actually, and I don't have the footage of it, but I threw her into Arena just to replace Apocalypse, and the outcome was pretty funny, actually. That I still managed to win a battle, believe it or not. And she ended up being a punching bag for a lot of the enemy characters. But the fact that her stats, like her raw HP and armor and all of that, is so high that I'm not saying that the arena is going to be taken over by random random characters with stat reworks, but it goes to show, though, like, the insanity that is ensuing right now in Marvel Strike Force. So what I have here, and the actual numbers, it kind of matters, I suppose. So let's just max this out with purple 3. It's going to be on Raider. We could put it to Striker just to see how high the damage stats go, I suppose. And then 7 yellow, 7 red, 3 diamonds. Now, I know that is not going to exist on the vast majority of characters because either the diamonds don't exist or whatever, but I just wanted to calculate the raw power anyways. And so I want to zoom in here so you guys can see better and just arrange basically the top 5, top 10 as far as health goes. Now, Odin aside, because he is going to be the Dark Dimension 8 mythic character, Mephisto's still quite up there, which is fine. Mephisto's HP, but as far as the other stats, he actually doesn't. And so let's go back to Ares. Was a stat monster, although as far as his kick goes, I haven't used him, heard mixed things about him. So stats clearly is not always everything, or people just don't have him at the power level for new characters where it makes a big difference. Like I think 5-5 and above is where you'll start to see that huge change in where their stats become relevant, at least comparatively to older characters. That's why we're seeing a huge increase in craziness between some of the rework characters like Lady Deathstrike, like Scientist Supreme, like Ultimus. Silver Surfer, not so much because I feel like, his kit was it's not even his kit. Like the kit was kind of garbage too, but also I guess the stats just didn't make up for it enough. I don't know. I guess the worst one technically of all of the new era characters. But if you look at, actually, I'm going to zoom out one, just where their stats land. So this is in the HP category, right? And it just seems that, let's take a look at the Annihilator. So we have Thanos Endgame here at 7, now being trumped by Scientist Supreme and even Lady Death is like right there, like neck and neck with Lady Deathstrike here. And we have Omega Sentinel and Nimrod 9 and 10. That's fine. But Gore is back down here at 12 when previously, before this patch, he was actually quite high up there as well. And Gladiator is still pretty high up there at number 4, but he's the main tank. But then Sentinel comes in and surpass. It's actually about the same. But Sentinel isn't. Does he have taunt? I think maybe he does. I haven't deep dived enough into the Orchis characters kit yet because I just haven't really felt the need to yet because of things, I suppose. Even though he is out next week, actually. As far as the damage stat goes, like their Nimrod well surpassed. Ares was like well past the other characters, including the Annihilators. And then now Nimrod comes around and basically just, is a little bit higher than Ares. I don't know does Nimrod have a damage passive? I don't think so, because they don't do the damage passives anymore, right? So, he has this, but I don't think that's included in the stats table. When this character has stealth gain 30% damage, I don't think that's included here on the stats table. So he's going to have even more when he does pick up stealth. And so that's what I mean. Comparatively from Nimrod to, say, Thanos Endgame, right? Who had a very high respectable damage stat of 510k here. But his placement now in the top 10 of the total stats, everyone's being bumped down, right? If you look at the damage, Nimrod is now in the top 5. Lady Deathstrike's in the top 5. Fuck. Omega Sentinel is top 5, and she's a support character, and that just proves that the classes are meaningless at this point. Sentinel, who's also a tank, is number 6. Scientist Supreme is number 7. So the entire Orchis team in the damage category is above the Annihilators. All of the Annihilators, actually. Ares is not an Annihilator, of course, but by and large, Scientist Supreme, Sentinel, Omega Sentinel, Lady Deathstrike, and Nimrod, all above Gore, Thanos Endgame, Gladiator, and I guess Silver Surfer is like further down there, and then Ultimus is here at 12. So what is the difference though? Let's say so Gore had the highest actually at 520k, and Lady Deathstrike here is at 630 almost. So that is like an increase of 20% between Gore and Lady Deathstrike within the span of 1 month, right? And so where does this end? Is this just a race to the top? I was gonna say race to the bottom, but I guess it's a race to the top, right? Like each month that everyone is gonna have more and more power, and I guess because they want to maintain the reduction of complexity, I suppose, in the characters by, I guess, just having raw stats. That they don't have to add as many lines into the kit. Because if we do, I think Nimrod felt pretty basic actually. Like as far as the number of bullet points go on the kits, like it's not actually that much. If you even compare it to, I don't know who's on here that'd be close enough. That would be like Guardian. I don't know. Like he's probably got like could have chosen a better character probably. But like look at this. This is a passive. This is a monster passive, right? Like the amount of bullet point lines. I think that Nimrod is a lot less. Like even his ultimate's like 3 lines. 2 lines technically if you remove this part. But like Guardian had like a lot. Like do this, flip this, apply this debuff, apply this buff, blah 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 blah. Like and that's it. That's it. Like 400 damage, primary and adjacent targets, defense down, disrupt, and then in raids it does more damage to mutants. Like it's pretty simplistic now, I would say. Does this make the characters worse though? So I guess it's the complexity of the kit versus this base stats and the insanity of the base stats that will happen when they're at 5/5 plus or 7/7 or whatever. And that's what I'm curious. And I don't know, because there's been a lot of complaints, right, about the Annihilators, who some people feel that their kits are not good enough, or that the stats don't make up for the lack of what's in the kits. And so that's, I guess, where I would be curious, to ask the audience or ask the community what they think about that. I've heard on more than one occasion about people complaining about specifically, I think, Gore, like his damage that he hits, that he's a wet noodle, that he just isn't enough. And maybe that's a star issue. But a lot of people have also said that, based on five and above, 5, 6, 7 yellow star, that they still feel they're a bit lackluster. I don't think there's been really any complaints of a Gladiator, wherever he is. Like by and large, I think a lot of people are happy with how Gladiator is. And I think that Ultimate's damage, from my personal experience, is quite good on the Ultimate. I feel like, he's not doing as much after that, but his damage is still quite good. Like I don't complain about how much damage he does or his ability to take hits, because it's quite good. But we do have the ability to take him to 3 diamond, unlike some of the new characters, right? And so for Gore, like, maybe it's not enough. I don't know. Like, is his kit just not doing enough? Yes, he does like neuter essentially Old Man Logan in Arena and probably elsewhere as well. But there's some parts where I'm like, why doesn't he also have this in other game modes? Because I was talking in my Discord about I was running Cosmic Crucible, and I was like, why doesn't Gore have the lower the assist chance in all game modes? I don't think it's that game breaking these days with what's going on with the character kits, that like for Gore to have this outside of Arena. I think I think it's fair. Is it too late to change characters? I don't know. But, I think there's been some complaints about Gore. Thanos Endgame, they did fix the issue with the ultimate and him not clearing safeguard and shit on his ultimate. Like, it seems fine now. Like, I don't need to run Skirmisher, I'm pretty sure. And some people have said that even Thanos' damage is kind of not that high. Even though there's piercing damage here on the AoE for the alt, and you actually get offense up when using the skill, there's been people that I've talked to who are 5 yellow, 6 yellow with the red stars and equivalent in G19, who say that, it just doesn't feel as strong. And so I guess I'm just looking for feedback in some ways. Like, do people think that these stats are making up for the less of the kit, for lack of better words? The fact that the kits are not as long as they used to, it makes it easier to digest the kits. And that's a good thing, I suppose. And I like that. Where, I don't have to, like, we used to complain about the Yu-Gi-Oh-esque sort of kit length and how long it was and how difficult sometimes it was to read the kits. And it's a lot easier now, I would say, for sure, 100%. But does that make the characters better necessarily? Is it just a star issue? That's kind of what I'm wondering too. Like, but some people who have wailed out on these characters have suggested, not Orchis, because I don't know too. I mean, they've not been available yet. But as far as the Annihilators go, I don't know if the stats are 100% the only issue here. It could be very well that the kits just were not. In some instances, the kits were just not enough. Obviously, Silver Surfer sucked, and so he didn't really see the benefits as much of it as we're probably going to see with the Orchis team and Lady Deathstrike and Scientist Supreme, and maybe the Annihilators were the first go at it, right? Like the first experimentation of this new era, and then with Orchis, they've improved on that, and they've made the kit slightly better, and their stats are higher, and so they're making up for the sort of holes that the Annihilators would have had. And I would love to hear some input from you guys, especially if you have like a 5 yellow plus on the new Annihilators characters and how you feel about using them. Like, again, I think Gladiator's fine wherever the hell he was, but the rest of them I'm not too sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in other game modes as well outside of raids with Orchis, and whether or not stats are everything. Are stats everything? That's, I guess, the conclusion. Is it? Is every team subsequent, like Night Stalkers and so on, are they just going to be better than everything else? Is everything pre-Ares going to be a lot more obsolete and meaningless compared to the stuff now? You should always be in the present, I think, when it comes to Marvel Strike Force. Make sure you're building the stuff that's coming out. I think that's the most important, because you're going to get the most opportune value of opportunity, for lack of better words, so that if you put it in now, you're going to have them for the next, I would say a year, but right, you never know in Marvel Strike Force, given how long a character is valid or a team is valid for, but, hopefully at least a year. And it just means that these are the most important things to work on right now. And by these, I mean like the post-Ares kind of era. But anyways, just some random thoughts. that I wanted to put into a video. Just this stat roller coaster is something else. Is it all that and a bag of potato chips? Is that all we care about, or is it not enough? I guess. But that's it for now. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see y'all later. Oh no, I lost war. Bad timing on the video. Boilon signing out.